Hello again, and welcome back to year 5 of the Religious Education Initiative. This is week 35, day 1. Christ is risen, Christos anesti. Over the last several months, we've read much of the book of Leviticus, and then we shifted forward to read the prophecy of Jonah in the weeks immediately preceding Pascha. As we continue, we will return to the story of the kingdoms of Israel following the death of King David and the crowning of his son Solomon, which we actually had read about in June of last year. We had seen Solomon crowned by the faithful servants of his father David, and then after David's death, we saw Solomon deal out justice to those who had committed evil in the days of King David, or who had sought to seize the kingdom for themselves. As we begin this story, spoiler alert, we should expect to see David's descendants and the others who reign on the thrones of Judah and Israel sometimes do well, but much more often fall into the same faithlessness that we have seen throughout the entire history of God's people from Mount Sinai onward. What we are seeing is fundamentally the problem which the Lord comes to remedy in his incarnation, his death, and his resurrection, as his people discover that they are actually rubbish at observing his commandments to them. This is chapter 3 of the book of 3rd Kingdoms, or 1st Kings, depending on the Bible that you're using. So, Solomon made a marriage alliance with Pharaoh, king of Egypt. He took Pharaoh's daughter and brought her into the city of David until he had finished building his own house and the house of the Lord and the wall around Jerusalem. The people were sacrificing at the high places, however, because no house had yet been built for the name of the Lord. Solomon loved the Lord, walking in the statutes of his father David. Only he sacrificed and offered incense at the high places. The king went to Gibeon to sacrifice there, for that was the principal high place. Solomon used to offer 1,000 burnt offerings on that altar. At Gibeon, the Lord appeared to Solomon in a dream by night, and God said, "Ask what I should give you." And Solomon said, "You have shown great and steadfast love to your servant, my father David, because he walked before you in faithfulness, in righteousness, and in uprightness of heart toward you. And you have kept for him this great and steadfast love, and have given him a son to sit on his throne today. And now, O Lord my God, you have made your servant king in place of my father David. Although I am only a little child, I do not know how to go out or come in. And your servant is in the midst of the people whom you have chosen, a great people, so numerous they cannot be numbered or counted. Give your servant, therefore, an understanding mind to govern your people, able to discern between good and evil. For who can govern this your great people?" It pleased the Lord that Solomon had asked this. God said to him, "Because you have asked this, and have not asked for yourself long life or riches, or for the life of your enemies, but have asked for yourself understanding to discern what is right, I now do according to your word. Indeed, I give you a wise and discerning mind. No one like you has been before you, and no one like you shall arise after you. I give you also what you have not asked, both riches and honor all your life. No other king shall compare with you. If you will walk in my ways, keeping my statutes and my commandments as your father David walked, then I will lengthen your life." Then Solomon awoke. It had been a dream. He came to Jerusalem, where he stood before the ark of the covenant of the Lord. He offered up burnt offerings and offerings of well-being, and provided a feast for all his servants. Later 2 women who were prostitutes came to the king and stood before him. The one woman said, "Please, my lord, this woman and I live in the same house, and I gave birth while she was in the house. Then on the 3rd day after I gave birth, this woman also gave birth. We were together. There was no one else with us in the house. Only the 2 of us were in the house. Then this woman's son died in the night because she lay on him. She got up in the middle of the night and took my son from beside me while your servant slept. She laid him at her breast and laid her dead son at my breast. When I rose in the morning to nurse my son, I saw that he was dead. But when I looked at him closely in the morning, clearly it was not the son I had borne. But the other woman said, 'No, the living son is mine, and the dead son is yours.' The first said, 'No, the dead son is yours, and the living son is mine.' So they argued before the king. Then the king said, 'The one says, "This is my son that is alive, and your son is dead," while the other says, "Not so, your son is dead, and my son is the living one." So the king said, 'Bring me a sword,' and they brought a sword before the king. The king said, 'Divide the living boy in 2, then give half to the one and half to the other.' But the woman whose son was alive said to the king, because compassion for her son burned within her, 'Please, my lord, give her the living boy. Certainly do not kill him.' The other said, 'It shall be neither mine nor yours. Divide it.' Then the king responded, 'Give the first woman the living boy. Do not kill him. She is his mother. All Israel heard of the judgment that the king had rendered, and they stood in awe of the king, because they perceived that the wisdom of God was in him to execute justice. Okay, so why are we reading this? I mean, obviously it's the next piece in the story, and it's valuable to see Solomon ask for wisdom, and of course the story of his wisdom in discerning which of the two mothers was the true mother is a fun one to see. However, I want to point something else out that's a little bit different. In Solomon himself, we see in microcosm the whole story of Israel, because at the beginning of his life, Solomon is faithful to God, and he wants only to serve faithfully. So he asks for the wisdom to be true and just and to do well as the king. And for all of that, God honors his request and gives him every blessing. The problem with Solomon is the same problem that we see with Israel when they receive the blessings of God. It's the same problem that we see ourselves when we receive the blessings of God. We begin to think that we deserve them. We begin to think that we have earned them. We begin to think that we possess them. And we become complacent, and we cease to be faithful to God, and we fall away. And we become slaves even to the gifts that God has given to us. Solomon is a warning for us, even in this season of Pascha, as we are feasting, as we are rejoicing in all the good things that God has given to us, that we waited for through the course of the fast, as we rejoice in the Lord's resurrection. It is very easy for us to become complacent, to become slaves of the belly, slaves of all the things that we have received as God's gifts to us. And yet, if we cease to pray, if we cease to be merciful, if we cease to seek after the Lord with all our heart, we will find that all of these good things God has given to us become simply the means by which we are re-enslaved, by which we are led astray, by which we walk to our destruction. This is not God's fault. We are the ones who need to learn to receive his gifts in sobriety, in faithfulness. So, this is why the church returns us to keeping weekly, the weekly fasts on Wednesday and Friday. Soon, quickly. We don't wait until after Pentecost. Some churches do, and that's fine for them, although I think they could speak to us about the challenges that come with that. But in the Greek tradition, we return to fasting on Wednesdays and Fridays after Bright Week, because we need the fast. The fast is a gift to us. It helps us to be delivered from slavery to our passions. So, God bless you all. We'll see you next time, for day 2, and then next week as we continue the story of Solomon and the currently united but not permanently united kingdom of Israel. Christ is risen. Christos Anesti.